This video is about our Texas Nursing Practice Act and mandatory reporting provisions. Basically, what this is all about is if someone breaks standards of practice, there's methods of reporting, and it's mandatory. If you work in the state of Texas as a nurse, that um you or if you're aware of, or even you yourself do something that breaks standards in practice, you're supposed to report it to the Board of Nursing or to peer review. So that's, violating the Nurse Practice Act, the standards of practice, something that causes serious injury or death to a patient, and then anything that might be related to chemical dependency or drug abuse or alcohol abuse. Another one that's mandatory reporting is exploitation or fraud or abuse or some kind of violation of professional boundaries. And then the last one on here that has to do with mandatory reporting is that if a nurse has an idea that another individual lacks the knowledge or skill or even the conscientiousness to be a safe practitioner, and that individual might pose a risk of harm to the patient. So these are conducts, those four are listed as nurse subject to mandatory reporting. And who reports? Well, everybody reports. Nurses report, peer review committees, schools, employers, professional organizations, all of these different entities are required to report. So nurses reporting other nurses. This would be if a nurse suspects a nurse is engaged in conduct that breaks standard of practice or might require peer review, and we're going to talk about peer review here in a little bit. The only exception is minor incidents, and that's a little later in this recording. So nurse reporting of others, and this includes healthcare providers or agencies or facilities. The nurse, if they have reasonable cause to believe that the patient's been at risk or that has to do with minimum standards of care by the practitioner or the facility, then that's another way to report. Employers reporting nurses. So it's a duty of your employer to report a nurse that breaks standards of practice, and they identify this as an individual who's been terminated or suspended for more than 7 days or has had some kind of disciplinary action taken against them by the facility has to notify the Board of Nursing. If a nurse is insured and has a lawsuit brought against them, that professional liability insurance carrier, that individual, the insurer, is the one that has to report. And if a nurse is in the subject of a lawsuit without professional liability insurance, then that nurse must report self. And they have alternate reporting in nurses, and this is your TPAPN, your Texas Peer Assistance Program for nurses, and this has to do with chemical dependency or mental illness. So that's a different entity that must be reported. So if a nurse goes to TPAPN, then the board has to know too, but the board is a peer assistant program that can help work through that. We're going to talk about that a little more in detail. Failure to report, and if an individual doesn't report, then the state agency, like our Board of Nursing, could take disciplinary action against the nurse that didn't report, but then that individual isn't liable for civil action if there's a lawsuit. Of course, protecting immunity, the whistleblower protections. If you report in good faith, you can't be sued for it or fired or anything, no retaliation. And then the board has to provide protection against groundless reports. So if you are if I'm a nurse and I'm reported to the Board of Nursing as having poor practice, then the board has to notify me that I've been reported so that I can file a rebuttal if I want to. So then the board, when they get those complaints, they don't investigate every single one of them, but if they get two or more in a 5-year period, then they'll have to look into those. The reports are confidential. and um can't be disclosed to anybody but the person who's been reported. They have the right to know, but they don't get to learn the identity of the person making the report. And then, of course, everything is confidential until public records are filed. And if there's any formal charges or disciplinary actions taken against the board, against the nurse by the board, then that's public record. And I think we showed you that on the class last week. So you can see those disclosed reports and see exactly what happened and the disciplinary actions taken against that individual. Now there's a piece about minor incidents, and a minor incident is an incident where the patient is not put at risk, or they don't have any harm come to them, like a nurse accidentally gives the wrong multivitamin to a patient or something like that. And if that's the case, if it's a minor incident, those are not reported to the board unless there's 5 in a 1 year period of time. So, if it's a minor incident, a simple med error where nobody's harmed and the length of stay isn't extended or anything like that, then those minor incidents can happen 5 in a 1 year period of time. So that boss of that person would have to, just keep a record in their personnel file to say if there's a minor incident. So the part to determine whether or not they're a minor incident or not, I think the easiest thing to remember is that the patient's they're not suffered any harm. There is no extended length of stay, and that's probably the easiest thing. So that is the last piece on mandatory reporting.